Welcome back. We are reading A Course in Miracles, the workbook for students, and we are on lesson 10. My thoughts do not mean anything. Okay, let's dive right in. 1.
Okay.
This idea applies to all the thoughts of which you are aware or become aware in the practice periods. The reason the idea is applicable to all of them is that they are not your real thoughts. We have made this distinction before and will do so again. You have no basis for comparison yet. When you do, you will have no doubt that what you once believed were your thoughts did not mean anything. This is the second time we have used this kind of idea. Oh, sorry, that's number 2. This is the second time we have used this kind of idea. The form is only slightly different. This time the idea is introduced with my thoughts instead of these thoughts, and no link is made overtly with the things around you. The emphasis is now on the lack of reality of which you think you think. Number 3, this aspect of the correction process began with the idea that the thoughts of which you are aware are meaningless, outside rather than within, and then stressed their past rather than their present status. Now we are emphasizing that the presence of these thoughts means that you are not thinking. This is merely another way of repeating our earlier statement that your mind is really a blank.
Hmm.
To recognize this is to recognize nothingness when you think you see it. As such, it is the prerequisite for vision. 4, close your eyes for these exercises and introduce them by repeating the idea for today quite slowly to yourself. Then add, this idea will help to release me from all that I now believe. The exercises consist, as before, in searching your mind for all the thoughts that are available to you without selection or judgment. Try to avoid classification of any kind. In fact, if you find it helpful to do so, you might imagine that you are watching an oddly assorted procession going by, which has little, if any, personal meaning to you. As each one crosses your mind, say, my thought about blank does not mean anything. My thought about blank does not mean anything. 5, today's thought can obviously serve for any thought that distresses you at any time. In addition, 5 practice periods are recommended, each involving no more than a minute or so of mind searching. It is not recommended that this time period be extended, and it should be reduced to half a minute or less if you experience discomfort. Remember, however, to repeat the idea slowly before applying it specifically, and also to add, this idea will help to release me from all that I now believe. So what you will say is, my thoughts do not mean anything, which is the chapter title. My thoughts do not mean anything. This idea will help to release me from all that I now believe. So my thought about whatever it is does not mean anything. This idea will help to release me from all that I now believe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like the addition of that second piece because it
Yes,
does kind of give you that perspective of
yes. Well, it gives you not, well, I suppose in a way it gives you a reason why I
yes,
had to say that. I don't even know, right? It means nothing.
right, right.
This
Okay.
idea will help release me from all that I now believe. The reason the idea is applicable to all of them is that they are not your real thoughts. We have made this distinction before and will do so again. You just have no basis for comparison yet.
Right.
Interesting.
Hmm.
What else do you hear in that?
Um, I think my biggest takeaway is that, this is really helping. Like this progress is now releasing all this preconceived conditioning, helping let that go. And
Yeah,
I know that we've gone through like 9 lessons now 10, but just adding that extra little piece at the end feels like the perfect ending
yeah,
to kind of like make it so.
exactly. The emphasis is now on the lack of reality of what you think you think. That just made me think of that expression, if you know, you know. Well, we know
Right.
nothing.
Right.
So we have
Ah,
no idea what we think we think. We just think we think something.
yeah, it just feels like this just goes this spiral is kind of like where does it begin and where does it end? Right? It
Right.
feels like that almost like a void.
I think that's the idea, is to get to a void place
Mm.
where you're not thinking of anything programmed or
I just wrote down
uh,
void instead of mean anything.
yeah, yeah. Um, we think we're thinking stuff. We think we're being hard on ourselves. We're thinking
Mhm.
about our jobs, but we're really not thinking anything because this is all an illusion,
Right.
which again is hard to do when we're talking to another person when there's really no one else. We are one. I mean, this is just, we probably get into this later, um, that, anyway.
Yeah, feels like go round and round.
This is not a hair clip. It doesn't exist. It just feels like something because we can give it some edges and we feel something. We
Mhm.
think we feel something, but really it's all just vibrating at a frequency that it becomes something we can touch, but ultimately there's nothing there. But I think that's a few lessons on maybe. But anyways, that's where I'm going.
Yeah, so my thoughts are when I see you just happen to pull something up that was plastic, and then I think about the landfills, right?
Yeah, which doesn't exist.
Then why are we worried about literally anything?
Exactly.
Hmm.
I'm sure you'll feel more of this as we go into other chapters. But really, there is nothing to worry about.
Right.
We don't need to worry about nuclear war. We don't need to worry about wars at all. We don't need to worry about how much money's in the bank. We don't need to worry about anything. We just think we do.
Right. Yeah. You're blowing my mind with this.
Well, it's about thinking what we think we know, and we know nothing. So we're not that far in, so I can do. So first lesson is nothing I see in this room or anywhere means anything. Lesson two, I've given everything I see in this room all the meaning it has for me. So you can do that about the landfill and
Yep.
Mother Earth. I mean, we don't
Mhm.
want to be irresponsible and whatever, but what does even that mean? That means
Right.
nothing.
Right.
I do not understand anything I see in this room. Is lesson three. Lesson four, these thoughts do not mean anything. They are like the things I see. They are like the things I see. Lesson five, I am never upset for the reason I think.
Mhm.
I am lesson six, I am upset because I see something that is not there. So you didn't really see this.
Mhm.
You just think you see this. Lesson seven, I see only the past. Lesson eight, my mind is preoccupied with past thoughts. Lesson nine, I see nothing as it is now. And then today, my thoughts do not mean anything. It does help you to
It's
look
same as
at,
lesson 4. These thoughts don't mean anything.
right, these thoughts do not mean anything. They are like the things I see in this room, on the street, from the window in this place.
Mhm.
So that lesson was being very specific, just in your room, and then you
Right.
expand it out onto the street from this window in this place.
Mhm.
And then it's a reminder in lesson 10, my thoughts do not mean anything.
Right.
So why do we worry about anything?
Are you a worrier?
Yeah, I'm a lot better.
Right.
I've had such epiphanies in the last couple of years that I think I'm at the point where I don't worry.
Right.
Have I
You're
ever missed paying rent?
mhm.
No, never.
Right. Yeah.
I'm 60 on this earth plane in the programming. I'm 62. I've
Hmm.
never missed a month's rent
Yeah.
or a mortgage payment or a
Right.
car payment
Hmm.
or whatever. I've never.
Yeah.
So why
Same.
would I worry about um, missing a future payment? Because I'm
Hmm.
only looking at the past.
Right.
I've never missed a meal unless I wanted to. I've never, yeah.
Yeah. Same. You're right.
So why do we worry?
Hmm.
I think it's I think it's programming on this planet.
Hmm.
If you're not fearful and afraid of something, then they haven't done their job, whoever they
Yeah.
are, right? We don't want
Right.
to go down that rabbit hole, but it's programming on this planet.
Hmm.
We I'm sure life was hard living on the farm,
Hmm.
growing your own food. If you didn't grow enough, if you couldn't can enough, if you couldn't preserve enough, if you couldn't dehydrate enough, or however, whatever, you had a really tough winter. Or if the harvest wasn't good because the weather wasn't good, then I mean, I can't imagine what that's like. I mean, I just go to the market in the spring and I buy all the cherries I can possibly do and deal with them and freeze them. But
Right.
imagine having to grow all that, and and where did the worms come from? Who thought
Right.
the cherries had to have worms and so thus needed spraying? We
Right.
did. We
Yeah.
created that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then, someone wanted to be wealthy like the kings. Well, who appointed the kings? How did that happen? We let them.
Hmm.
So then all of a sudden you've got kings, and then now you've got envy. We all want to be living in castles with Rapunzel,
Right.
and
Hmm.
servants, and someone just throwing a big turkey carcass on, like Henry VIII, the big mouthful out of the turkey leg and throw it over your shoulder kind of thing.
Hmm.
Somehow all that started, and we didn't appoint them, but we envy them. And I think that's where, I don't know, that's just my 2 cents coming up off the top of my head and the thoughts that aren't there.
So I'm just looking at this, um, the foundation for inner peace. And so I'm really looking for what is the what's the point of, because if even if you just go through these 10 lessons, and there's clearly many, many more to go, if I'm so peaceful about things, like, are there some people that will just like check out because they don't see meaning in anything? Their their value means nothing. They don't Everything they see means nothing. Their thoughts don't mean anything. How how do you reconcile that with your mind for some and continue on?
Well,
Right? Because
there
that can be
isn't
a
anyone
very dark
else.
canyon for some
Yeah,
mentally.
yeah. I don't have mental illness. I suppose I could have in some areas, but I'm not that vulnerable to take it so seriously. I don't know if that's the right word, but
Yeah, no, I get but there could be people that absolutely
yeah,
would,
yeah.
and, kind of
And there's
convince
other people
themselves,
that find
well,
complete peace with
right.
this.
Yeah. And I think you and I are both of that ilk.
Yeah. I think someone who my thoughts, my
Mhm.
thought is somebody who's not mentally stable reading this might check out.
Mhm. Mhm. Maybe that's their journey. Well, it would be, wouldn't it?
And from my perspective, there is no them.
Right.
They are me. They are unhealed parts. Who knows?
Yeah, yeah.
We don't know. We're all playing a game, right? We're not exactly sure what any of this is.
Yeah.
I've been in enough groups in the last few years that really the only thing we are here to do is, you know, it's so woo woo, but it, God is source. God is love. That is all there is.
Yeah.
That is all there is. And we choose to come here to be in a body and feel all the things. That's all our job is to feel all the things.
Feel all the feels.
Feel everything.
Mm-hmm.
Not feeling things causes disease in our body, I believe. I could be way
Mm-hmm.
wrong. But I think, and if you can imagine the density that we feel here, because we're aware of the frequencies that,
Mm-hmm.
this feels
Hold
like
things
something, but
together.
also it can't stay in the air, like there's something holding us onto the planet,
Yeah.
which we call gravity, but I think that's a lie too. I don't
Right.
know. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So there is no you. I'm not talking to anybody. I'm actually imagining. I'm just participating in this illusion in an unusual way. Like
Mm-hmm.
if God was to look down and go, okay, we were just talking about the landfills and maybe we can go to eating meat and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
If God looked down, in my personal opinion,
Mm-hmm.
if God looked down and said, well, why are God, should I be eating steak? Well, you're eating? What is that?
Mm.
God just is. God doesn't
Right.
need to eat.
Right.
God is just love.
Yeah.
So we're making big deals out of everything for no reason.
Mm-hmm.
Because there is only love. There is only love. There is only peace. We're in this bodysuit to feel what we feel.
Yeah.
And as soon as we sway away from the love and the peace, then who knows? Who knows where
Yeah.
those things come from? Because we're not thinking them. Our thoughts do not mean anything, but we've made them mean something. So
Right.
we're in the practice of unthinking and unmaking meaning out of them.
Right.
It's fascinating and crazy making all at the same time.
Right. Yeah.
But I just applied words to it, which are words are a spell. So, you know, what are we really doing? My thoughts do not mean anything.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe my thought that I just had that came out my mouth means nothing. In fact, it does mean nothing.
Right. That is correct.
Oh, ouch, my shoulder or
Mm.
my neck. So today, today's thought can obviously serve for any thought that distresses you at any time. So you can consider your mentally unstable person who's picked up this book going, I don't feel good. This isn't right for me or whatever. And in that one of your practice periods, because there's 5 recommended today,
Yeah.
involving no more than a minute or so of mind searching. do do do. Close your eyes for these exercises and introduce them by repeating the idea for today quite slowly to yourself. My thoughts do not mean anything. Then add, this idea will help to release me from all that I now believe. So my thought about this material harming mentally ill people does not mean anything.
Mm-hmm.
This idea will help to release me from all that I now believe.
Okay.
5 times. And um, if you experience discomfort, then reduce it to half a minute.
Okay, so that's interesting. So where would there be discomfort, I wonder?
I don't know. We can
Like
go back to the
mentally,
thought of,
physically?
sorry,
Mentally, physically?
could be either. It's this also says to the first line in this whole chapter says this idea applies to all the thoughts of which you are aware or become aware in this practice period. So it could even be what you just thought.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just on their website right now. I want to find out more about them.
Yeah, I don't know much about them
You can
because, as
even
I say,
find study groups, it says here,
yeah,
which is what we're doing, but yeah.
yeah. Let's end the recording here.
Okay.
Did that work?